Hello, Bloomington Normal. Welcome to the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. 309-451-9299 is the phone number. Text in today. Man, there is a lot going on. We've got two major stories that happened this week, and one of them broke as I was getting ready to do the show. The first, if you want to reach and get a hold of me and follow me on Facebook, Ryan Mack Show, Twitter, all lowercase, Ryan Mack Show. You can text in 309-451-9299. You can listen live on the radio. You can go to the app. We have an app for that. All kinds of good stuff today. So, many of you have heard one big story this week. There was another shooting that took place in Nashville Christian School called Covenant. And the tragic story that seems to be the theme, that we still don't have a motive. We don't have a whole lot of information. We're getting it every day. But authorities this week, earlier in the week, did confirm that the shooter was Aubrey Hale and identifies as transgender. So this is according to the Daily Wire from earlier in the week. Authorities confirmed at a press conference the 28-year-old who killed 6 included 3 children. So 3 children were killed and 3 staffers. Identified as transgender. Engaged by police around 10:27, about 14 minutes after the first call was made. Nashville Police Chief John Drake said the shooting appeared to be a targeted attack. Monday afternoon, local authorities along with the FBI searched the home of the female shooter. And this is, at the time, Daily Wire refused to, in accordance to their company policies, they didn't want to identify the shooter because that's what they do. They don't want to identify and bring light to the shooter. But it is Aubrey Hale. During the search, they found a manifesto along with maps of the school drawn in detail that included points of entry. Now, if you've seen the video, she shoots down glass out of the doors, gets her way in. I mean, the footage is unreal. And she just starts in on walking through the halls. It's almost, she knew every part of the building. The police chief said that they have a theory on the motive, but they are not yet ready to share it. So they have an idea what would have possibly motivated her. Metro Nashville police identified the shooter as a 20-year-old woman during the hours after the attack. During the press conference, an official said the shooter was armed with 2 assault-type rifles and handgun. Drake confirmed that the shooter was a former student. She was taken out by 2 Metro National Police officers. So there were 6 total victims, including 3 9-year-old children, and 3 adults over 60 years old. Evelyn Dykes, Hallie Scruggs, and William Kinney, all age 9, Cynthia Peak, Catherine Coots, who I believe was the headmaster who charged after her, the shooter. So it's a private Presbyterian school in Nashville's posh Green Hills neighborhood, and from preschool through 6th grade. According to the website on the school, it enrolls about 195 and 210 students. So anytime there is a shooting, it is tragic, it is horrible, your thoughts run wild, but you have to take a step back, especially if you weren't there, to kind of let everything play out. Most normal people would, right? Well, except that almost 10 seconds into being briefed at a press conference, Joe Biden comes down the stairs and immediately discusses what chocolate ice cream he wants and whose ice cream, and he just says the weirdest thing. And you have an administration who almost immediately after the shooting takes place run to ban assault weapons. And this was before they even knew what guns she had. She could have had a pistol. She could have had a BB gun. I mean, obviously not a BB gun. But she could have had anything. And she just so happened to have 2 rifles and a couple handguns. But it's funny how they want to immediately ban rifles every time there's a shooting. Because I don't know about you, but the first law that was already on the books that she broke was murder. Also one of the 10 Commandments. So banning guns is not going to stop a criminal from exploiting and breaking the law. Criminals don't abide by laws. So any new gun law, name me, for the liberals out there, name me one gun law that would have prevented this shooting. I'll wait. You don't know, right? Because the ones who don't abide by the laws are the ones breaking the law and causing more shootings. I don't know about you, but the guns I own don't kill anybody. Because you have to pull the trigger as an individual to kill somebody. It blows my mind the level of stupidity that the left has and the audacity to not even offer their condolences, not even speak about the families involved in these shootings. They immediately go, we got to ban all guns. We have to ban all guns, and we have to take guns away. It's all about the guns. It's like a Gru minion thing. It's all about guns with these people. And it amazes me that is their go-to every time. Now, don't get me wrong, I think both sides can agree that these are horrible situations that happen. I think we're all seeking answers, right? To some extent, we want answers. We don't want these to keep happening. But you have to look at an appropriate response. It's not just ban guns, because obviously it's not going to happen. You're not going to get rid of the millions, the hundreds of millions of guns in this country. They'll start with the AR-15. Then they'll come after a handgun, because those are also the most commonly used type of gun. They'll go after anything that you can make a weapon. That's what Democrats do. If you can take a bat and kill 30 people, they'll try to ban all bats. That means no more baseball. That's the level of stupidity and obsession the Democrats go with taking guns away. In the history of banning guns, it has never worked out well. It's not. Legally, they can't do it. We have a document. I've lost track of what it's called. Oh, the Constitution, and there's an amendment. The Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. Of course, that doesn't stop Democrats in states that are very much anti-gun to craft illegal, unconstitutional laws from taking place. Now, there's various lawsuits of all that kind. But I digress. Democrats' first grab in any tragic shooting situation is take the guns away. This would have stopped it. And I just want to point out that's not a solution. Because where do most shootings happen? In gun-free zones. A practical solution to eliminating most mass shootings, because if the shooter wants to get into a building, they will get into a building. Okay? They will find a door, they will find a window, they will blow it open, they will find a way to get in. Now, it's an obstruction. If you can keep locked doors in a school district, that's an obstruction. But these doors were glass, so it was easy to shoot and enter in. Changing the style of doors, most main doors to be maybe just steel or aluminum and just a small window. I don't know what the solution to that is, but it comes with a cost as well. When you talk about different types of security, school districts only allotted so much money throughout the yearly budget, and it's going to ramp up, money to cost to secure these buildings, but it can be done. School districts all over the country are doing it. The other issue is Another solution is to arm the teachers and staff, not forcing everyone to carry, but those who want to be trained and want to have that proper training to know what to do in those situations should be allowed to carry. I can guarantee you, had the headmaster been carrying on her, she probably would have engaged with her even more, and probably, if not shot her dead, would have at least bought her time to not kill anybody else. That's what it comes down to. You have to have people who want to be trained in those situations, not just law enforcement, not just security guards, but the ones who are in those situations, teachers, staff, anybody who wants to protect these children, who also want to be armed and will be willing to take themselves out in a situation, can do so. It shouldn't be forced. But if you're just tuning in, this is the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. 309-451-9299 is the text line. We're talking the Nashville shooting this week. And also, I've got another big story right around the corner that we've been waiting on to see the results of what would happen. And I'm going to fill you in on a little bit. But you have all these different stories, side stories coming off of this shooting. Okay? I'm a proud Second Amendment supporter. I'm going to be the first one to tell you that this needs to stop. I agree. There needs to be changes, but you can't keep pushing the same ban all guns narrative. That's not how this works. That narrative is off the table. That movement is off the table. That's not going to happen. So what's your next? It's a negotiation standpoint. What's going to happen? You don't ban guns. Okay, what's the next solution? How about arming teachers? How about putting former military officials and people, men and women who served in the country, who are trained in these situations, putting them in schools and keeping them in work? There's hundreds, if not millions, of veterans who either homeless or without a job that are retired that would love to protect children. It's as simple as that. But I think we can both agree, both sides, that this is horrible and tragic, and something needs to be done to make sure we minimize these kinds of scenarios. But banning guns is not going to do it, because you ban guns and then someone comes into a school, breaks in and stabs 30 people. Then what are you going to do? You're going to say ban all knives? So first it's guns, and then it's knives, and then it's baseball bats, and then it's a rubber mallet, because somebody can take you out with a rubber mallet or a hammer. Anything with a blunt force object becomes a weapon. And once that weapon is used, it can be used to kill you. And then the Democrats will try to take that away. It's a never-ending cycle. It's never-ending. Hey, stick around. We're coming up on break. This is the Ryan Mack Show on Cities. We're talking the Nashville shooting, another big story coming up. Stay right here. Welcome back to the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. 309-451-9299 is the text line. Feel free to be a part of the show today. We are talking about the Nashville shooting and the aftermath of some of the stories that are falling out from it. So earlier I mentioned that banning guns is not the solution, despite Democrats across the country yelling and screaming and kicking and violently thrashing about. It's not the answer. We need to come up with another answer to minimize the effects of these shootings. When you put guns in places to combat bad people with guns, that most of the time the bad person will die first, and compared to the good guy with a gun. More often than not, where are most of these shootings happening? Well, in unsecured places without guns. They're not smart enough, or they're smart enough to figure out, oh, well, this place doesn't have guns, doesn't allow guns, or whatever the reason is. I'm going to go there because it's an easy target. So it's just that's the common sense of it. It's an easy target when there's no guns. You see gun signs, anti-gun signs up all public buildings in some of the states. And you see that. So the solution is just ban all guns. and think of nothing else. It's all one big money grab. It's all one big confiscation grab. The guns. It's all about the guns. But nobody on the Democrat side wants to talk about the mental health. That's really odd, right? Because guns kill people, not the evil sicko behind the gun who is mentally disturbed. I mentioned before that this person identified as a male, born female. So if that doesn't kind of clue you in as to what's going on behind the scenes, there's more of that unfolding too. But I was listening to some other shows this week, and they played some audio clips of people going off on Twitter. The media took off with it. You need to ban guns. They're one step with the Democrat Party. They always are. Lock and lock. But you have people on Twitter, took to Twitter, and you have people going off the rocker, just losing their mind about guns. And I wouldn't even want to entertain you with those audio clips because it's the stupid is out there. So that's not going to happen. They're not going to ban guns. But I want to get into some other issues surrounding this because I think it's important. A mentally ill individual bought guns legally and decided to shoot up a Christian school. She was a former student. Disgruntled, we never know. The officers engaged her and shot her, killed her. The manifesto has been out there, but now it's been, under wraps. So we know that she's got some friends that have spoke about it. She's got a small circle of family that didn't even know she had guns. There's just a lot of weirdness to this story. And you have the idiots in the media immediately going to the point of the fact that she's a victim because she's transgender and that she was confused and harmed by the laws of Tennessee, that they're anti-trans, and this is why she went off the rocker and killed kids and adults. I'm sorry, but under no circumstances I'm going to call the shooter in this situation a victim. I don't care what you identify as. That person is evil enough to take weapons of any kind into a school and shoot up kids is not a victim. You're not. And you're not going to tell me that she's a victim. Yes, I said she. Biological female. So whatever you need to do to tell yourself this is a transgender and this goes against the white movement that all in white cisgendered male commit crimes and shootings, blow it out your you-know-what. This was a female. This was a former student who had problems in her own life, and she took it out on an innocent child. Several of them. And it could have been more. Had police not engaged her quickly, it could have been several more had the headmaster not charged at her and scared her. That's the reality of it. It could have been a lot more casualties than just the 6. So I want to give a shout out to the Nashville police and the chief there for immediately taking her out and engaged. Where we've had other shootings, and this is where law enforcement sat around for an hour before engaging. That's not what you're trying to do. But nonetheless, you have Democrats crying about how she's the victim because she's trans, and Tennessee is terrible with guns. They're so pro-gun and anti-trans. It's a load of crap and garbage, and they know it. Nothing, no new law would have stopped this shooting. The legislation to protect kids in the state of Tennessee is to do just that. They don't want hormones being pumped into kids at a young age and becoming mentally ill by the age of 28. That's really what this comes down to. States that want to protect kids from this horrible gender dysphoria need to continue to do so. This woman was pumped full of testosterone that is raging in her body. No wonder why she went off and killed kids. That's what hormones does to a body that shouldn't have testosterone in it. That level. Men and women both have different levels of both. Men have more testosterone. Women have more estrogen. When you take puberty blockers and you take chemical castration and you mess up a kid from the normalcy of puberty and changes to their body, this is who they become. They become monsters. Not always. Sometimes they're suicidal. It's not society making them suicidal because they transitioned. They are suicidal and depressed and confused and mentally disturbed because they've been taught it's okay to be whoever you want. It's not. If you're just tuning in, this is the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. 309-451-9299 is the text line. Feel free to be a part of the show. What are your thoughts? I'm sure you all have thoughts on this shooting this week. Are you on the left side who thinks that we should ban guns? Or you are conservative and like-minded who thinks that there are a rational solution to these instances that happen? However, I don't agree with the fact that she's a victim. Okay, what monster shoots up a school and declares herself as the victim? I don't care what traumatic childhood that she had. Everybody that goes into a school and shoots up the school is a monster. I don't care. So Joy Reid and these idiots on the left that say it's anti-trans, I'd shoot up a school too. No, you can burn in hell for that. You can it just blows my mind how stupid you can be to realize that there are people out there on Twitter, in the media, and in this White House who are immediately calling for gun bans and that trans people are hunted down by these Christian right-wing extremists all the time. I'm so tired of that narrative. This was an individual who was mentally ill and needed to get help. But this is going to happen more and more when you have states affirming gender care to kids who are supposed to be their gender from birth, biologically assigned. When you confuse them and turn them into monkeys and think they can be furries or cats or donkeys or horses or a unicorn, anything, male, female, just you name it. It seems like the new trend of the week. I feel I'm an alien this week. I'm going to go fly in outer space. Let me know how that works out. This narrative that trans people are attacked constantly needs to go away because it's the further from the truth. And I will be the first to tell you, I have family members who are transgender. I know several people who I've worked with in the past who are gay. My issue is not who they identify with. My issue is with the greater whole of making it out to be a bigger story than it is. This is a sick individual who decided to take out her frustrations on an innocent school. Now, we don't know from the motive yet or the manifesto entirely what the target was, or if it was in fact that she went there and now she's confused and she hates right-wing Christian institutions, what they call them, so she's going to go blow it up. That has to change. We are not going to get anywhere as a society when we continue to blame the shooters, blame the victims as the problem, and the shooters become the victims. This soft on crime, soft on mental health in this country, it has to change. Otherwise, you're going to see more school shootings. You're going to see more shootings. You're going to see more transgender shootings. There's a day of vengeance coming out. They're planning this. But if you plan a protest on January 6th for an election, you're an insurrectionist. But if you plan a day of vengeance of literal violence, you are the perfect victim and an angel. Nothing to see here. Nothing at all. That doesn't bother you? Because it does me. You're not a victim. If you shoot up a school, if you shoot up in the name of, I'm a victim, I'm confused, I have no sympathy for you. I've none. Now, the White House comes out with all this. This is how this relates. Says trans community under attack after Nashville shooting. Karine Jean-Pierre said the White House's hearts go out to the transgender community. Where were your hearts after the students were shot dead? Where? Did you say thoughts and prayers then? Did you pray for the families who were killed innocently? No. Your immediate response was ban guns, I'm sorry for the transgender community, and I want chocolate ice cream. That's where your thoughts were. So don't give me this crap about your heart goes out to the transgender community, because it doesn't. You're pandering, and you're sick, and you're mentally disturbed. Don't walk in here with that nonsense. But nonetheless, she goes on. It's just talking about how her heart goes out. Just a quick clip. But she says that the trans community is under attack. And just days after the former transgender student shot and killed 6 people. One of the things that we saw during the midterm elections is that people don't want their freedoms to be taken. They want us to fight for their freedoms. She said to reporters as they questioned from the briefing room. It's shameful, disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now. Really? They're under attack. Hey, stay right there. We'll be right back after break. This is the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. Welcome back to the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. 309-451-9299 is the text line. Text in today. I've got all kinds of fired up. I had to calm myself down in the break. Talking about the Nashville shooting. It's a horrible tragedy. The fallout from it. We still don't know the motive. We still don't know exactly what was behind this individual. The White House comes out this week and says ban guns and trans people are victims, and this happened because she was confused, and they're always under attack. And the state house in Tennessee, they're pro-gun and anti-trans legislation. This made this happen. I'm tired of the excuses. This is a mentally ill individual who committed an evil act. No law, no strict gun law would have stopped this from happening. If an individual wants to commit an act of violence and out of evil, they will murder somebody regardless. So I just want to tie that end up right there. People who commit evil will commit evil. No new law, because criminals don't abide by laws, would have stopped this. All right. Moving on, just a quick side note. After all this has happened, there has been a slow insurrection at the state capitol house in Tennessee. There's not a lot of details on it. Some reports of people shoving police officers. I'm guessing it's trans activists, but I'm not sure entirely. That could probably be the case. But it's weird how you don't see the media going off on this narrative that it's an insurrection at the state level when it's trans activists. Just when it's January 6th. Speaking of January 6th, that leads me into my next story. President Trump, we've all been waiting to see whether or not he'd be indicted. Ever since his tweet broke out on Truth Social, his truth broke out, there has been a grand jury meeting and then not meeting and delayed and not delayed. And this is a Manhattan DA who is off his rocker. Alvin Bragg is a loony. He won't go after true criminals in the state of New York or in the city of New York. Remember the bodega worker that was violently assaulted? He initially was jailed and decided to drop charges after he was the one that was being assaulted. So there's that. But we've been waiting, and as I was putting together this episode, and usually news drops on Friday sometime in the afternoon, so I miss kind of the breaking news towards the weekend. But this happened as I was putting it together and having my thoughts circled around the show. Trump got indicted. And I honestly, I didn't see it happening when they delayed it. And I thought he was going to see the pressure fold and Alvin wasn't going to indict him. But it's a Manhattan grand jury who wouldn't have any fair peers out of it to actually see it through. So the scope of this, just to put it in perspective, okay? He paid hush money, they still call it hush money. It's a non-disclosure agreement, okay, regardless of whether he did have an affair or not, and that's debatable, he paid money to his lawyer, Cohen, who is a snake and a horrible human being, is a serial liar, but I'm not sure why they would decide to take a liar on their word. And from what I recall, the original recordings, I'll have to go back and hear some of these, but text in if you think, if you knew what the Cohen conversation was with Trump, because I remember hearing specifically that I don't think Cohen actually told Trump that it was for Stormy. I know that they had a conversation about the 130,000, but I don't exactly remember if it was intentionally for Stormy. I think it was just a payment of some kind, and Trump's like, all right, we'll just sign off on it. So I'll be the first to tell you, my memory is foggy on that. I remember hearing recordings of Cohen's conversation. But regardless, that is a misdemeanor level crime, if that, breach of non-disclosure agreements. They sign them all the time, and people break them. Also, this whole called hush money thing. Look, first, New York has a statute of limitations. It's about 2 years for things like this. It's going on 7 years, this story, and it won't go away because that's what Democrats do. They don't go away when they come after Trump. Trump is living in their head rent-free. So what happens? Well, instead of Bill Clinton, who paid $840,000 to his victims or to his non-disclosure agreements, he doesn't see any jail time, doesn't see an indictment, doesn't see a lick of punishment. You have Hillary out there floating emails into abyss and breaking them and smashing them to smithereens. Doesn't see jail time on a private server. No. But Donald Trump runs as a conservative and governs well. He wins because of Russia's help. He doesn't win the election fairly, according to Hillary. She still thinks she won. So does Stacey Abrams. So first they tried the Russia gate, how Russia helped him win the election and he's in bed with Putin. And Adam Schiff apparently wants to see Trump's pee-pee tape that he has him out there and he's peeing on hookers like R. Kelly. I mean, that's legit what Adam Schiff only thinks about. Imagine that. We like to see that pee-pee tape for evidence, so that doesn't exist. Yeah, we'd like to see it anyway. Do you got any evidence he was peeing on hookers? No, it doesn't exist. Oh, but can I see it? That's the level of stupid these people go to get Trump. That's all their goal is. Alvin Bragg is a George Soros paid DA. George Soros funneled money to Alvin Bragg and some of these other liberal DAs to be soft on crime, to sow chaos in American way of life. I've never seen anybody so anti-American in my life as an individual who doesn't even live here. Doesn't even live in this country, and he has spent billions of his own money just to hate America. I kind of think George Soros should be strung up like Dark Knight, the movie Dark Knight, where Batman goes over and gets the Chinese millionaire, billionaire, whatever he is, the brings him back to the States and captures him. That kind of needs to happen. Go Batman level and go across to wherever he's hiding out in his mansion and go get him and string him up. Make him answer questions. Make him fry like bacon. I've never seen this hate of one man in one country in my life. You may not like how Trump personality is. I personally voted for him because of his personality. He's a bull in a china shop. He's unpredictable. The answers to the things he comes up with are insane. Putin never invaded Ukraine under Trump because he knew that if he did, Trump probably would have blown his country sky high. That's how he didn't know that, but that's how unpredictable Donald Trump is. He's that way. He's harsh, he's brash, he's blunt, and he will uphold his promises. He loves this country more than anything. They're not. He famously said it. They're not after me. They're after you. I'm just in their way. That statement holds a lot of truth. Democrats aren't after him. They're after you. That's what this end goal is. So he gets indicted. Now, I can tell you, as someone who voted for him the first time and the second time, and will again, This is only going to embolden his base and rile up us even more. This attack on somebody politically has got to stop. What crime, what felony has been committed here? Name me one. I'm waiting. Crickets, right? Okay. He didn't have Russia help him win the election. He didn't interfere in the 2020 election. Yet they're trying to have a criminalized process going after him to stop him from running. But even with an indictment, it doesn't stop a person from running for president. He's not going to be convicted. The charges will all likely be thrown out. No judge, realistically, who follows the Constitution should ever even take this case. In their right mind, if you follow the books and you follow the Constitution and you follow the process and this is happening, it should be tossed immediately. This is how stupid it is. No top prosecutor, Democrat or Republican, said this was a good idea. You got no case here. And what does Alvin Bragg do? Send it. Grand jury indicts him, and here we are. Now, there's more details coming about. My guess and my willingness to admit this, he will surrender him, although I would make it fun and have him be cuffed so they can see how stupid and embarrassing this is for the left over something such as stupid as an NDA. But if they want to go after him for a supposed campaign finance violation, that's also dumb too, because you know how many of the politicians have broken NDAs in their career or campaign finance laws over money? About all of them. So if you're going to criminalize Trump for the things that you say he does, then you need to go after everybody else. But this is partisan politics. This is weaponizing an FBI and DOJ against a political opponent, and in the country of America, this is a travesty. This is un-American, and this is unconstitutional what they're doing to this man. And I think it only makes him stronger. Look, I'll be the first to tell you that some of the things he says, I roll my eyes and go, oh my God, why? Why can't you just when he pivots to policies and policies he's done or policies he's going to do, he is on target and he will knock them out of the court. I agree sometimes when he's getting attacked, he's going to be attacked. He's going to be. It's never going to stop. But he could do a little less whining over it. But he's not entirely wrong. He's tired of being attacked for something he didn't do. It's beyond me. If you're just listening, this is the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. The news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We'll be right back after break. Welcome back to the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. 309-451-9299 is the text line. Be a part of the show. What do you think about the Nashville shooting I covered earlier? A horrible tragedy. Just a nuts story coming out of that about the transgender issues, the gun issues. It's never going to end. They're always going to come after the guns. They're always going to come after and make out to be transgender people are victims, and everything is poor me. And it's a horrible situation around. The mental health crisis in this country is real, and we need to have practical solutions other than blaming guns and calling transgender people victims. It has to be something different. And then I got into the Trump indictment that's breaking. The grand jury has decided to indict Trump. What does this all mean? I went into a little bit just my own little rant, but I also found, to close up here with the Palm Beach Post, a journalist has the same question that I do, and I think we all do. Now that he's been indicted, can he still run for president? So there's an answer to this. Since the U.S. has a federal system, the rules establishing qualifications for running for any office in which you are trying for, and by state, county, or municipality in which you live. For example, Florida, which had barred felons, now allows individuals who have completed their sentences to run for office or serve on juries once they have their civil rights restored. In other states, the rules may be less strict or may depend on the severity of the crime and length of the time in sentence. Well, if that's any indication, we'll be scot-free here because Democrats don't like criminals being locked up. Unless you're Trump and conservatives. Then it's a whole different thing. Crime, anybody else commit crime? Nope, you don't have to spend time. Just Trump. While states can establish qualifications for their offices, the requirements for election to federal offices are set in the U.S. Constitution. Article 2, for example, describes the requirements to serve as president, being natural-born citizen, 35 years of age, having been a resident of the country for at least 14 years. There is no explicit prohibition on individuals with criminal records running for president. The Constitution does not prohibit anyone based on indictments or convictions. Hey, let me hear you again, liberals. Scream at that at once. How is the indictment going to stop Trump from running for office? This is what Democrats always do. We got to stop him from running. He's dangerous. We got to indict him. We got him. There's a problem with that. The U.S. Constitution doesn't have a remedy for denying a person from running for office if he's been indicted or convicted. Weird. It's almost as if they thought they had a plan to get him to stop running because they can make him a criminal. But, which they never do. There's a loophole in the Constitution that says, yeah, nope, it doesn't stop him. It's almost like this is, political attack. Oh, that's right. It's almost as if they're doing it because they know he's running, so they can keep him the storyline, and while quietly Biden continues to kind of mumble along in the basement and eat soup and ice cream and win elections because they can make everything about everybody else. Their only goal is to take out Trump. How do you do it? You turn him into a criminal. Well, that doesn't stop him from running for president. Oh. Well, that we'll get him on the other thing in Georgia, interfere in the election. No. Election opinions, last time I checked, aren't a crime. I can say that the 2024 election will be stolen before it even gets here. And I'm not going to be held liable for that. We have to get back to the fact that there are opinions, differing opinions in this country. You can't be held liable or criminal for having a difference in opinion. And that seems to be what the Democrat Party is all about. They want one voice, one rule, one party, and everybody else to shut up and sit down. They want to be in charge forever. They will attack conservatives on social media. They will ban your profiles if you say the word conservative, or if you like guns in your pictures, like they're going after the lawmakers who had pictures of their guns at Christmas time and think that they're the problem. They go after political opponents. Nah, Trump's criminal. He's all about Russia. Russia helped him. Okay, so Hillary went after him for 2.5 years of his presidency. Imagine, if you will, where we would be if Trump didn't have those investigations. Trump wins 2020, flying through the presidency. Can you imagine where we'd be as a country? Instead, you got this rotting bag of oatmeal in the White House. I'm only here for the ice cream. I like chocolate ice cream, chocolate chip. I'm Joe Biden. I'm Joe Biden's husband. That's where we're at. This man won 81 million votes. Really? Did he really get 81 million votes? More than Barack Obama? Or was it just an indictment on, pun intended, was it the fact that it was anti-Trump? Was it pro-Biden or anti-Trump? Answer that. 309-451-9299. Bring it in. Do you think as much of it was Biden or anti-Trump? It remains to be seen what goes forward with this indictment, what that means. It's publicly going to be announced. I have no idea when, probably sometime next week. And we don't know, right? What his next step will be. But as an article, according to Article 2 and in the Constitution, this doesn't stop somebody from running for office. And an example, in 1920, Eugene Debs ran for president as a socialist. He was serving time in prison, speaking out against the draft in World War I. He was convicted of violating the Sedition Act of 1918. After charging Debs, the federal prosecutor said, "No man, even 4 times the candidate of his party for the highest office in the land, can violate the basic law of this land." Debs won nearly 1 million votes while he was in prison, but did not win in a single electoral college vote. It does not bar felons from Congress either. In the U.S. Supreme Court, in the U.S. Term Limits versus Thornton case 95, ruled that states cannot add additional requirements or qualifications for congressional candidates. However, the House of Representatives has a rule that members convicted of a felony be removed from committee activities unless and until they are reelected. You can censure and you can expel members in the House and Senate, but you cannot get rid of them if they've been a felon. So this whole lying thing with George Santos, you can't do that either. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen with this. Trump obviously is not going to stop running. This actually will embolden his base even more. I, for one, am going to continue to eat my popcorn and watch this all play out. So there's that. Hey, thank you guys so much for listening. This is the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal.